What is going on, Mentors Collective? If you're listening to this, my entrepreneurs, my hustlers, my business owners, it's a hard life out there for my ecom owners, people who are trying to get into ecom because it's such an appealing thought, right? You buy this inventory, you set it up once, there's no managing clients, there's no operations. It's a dream come true and it's infinitely scalable, but it's really hard to do in a competitive market. I've tried and failed several times myself. So if you're interested in ecom, thinking about starting an ecom company, or maybe you have an ecom company right now and you're plateauing or it's failing, this episode is going to be for you. Like always, I bring on experts to help me understand more and learn more about business and marketing. So in this one, I've got a perfect fit to talk about e-commerce with us. Eric Huberman's the CEO and founder of Hawk Media. Right now is the fastest growing marketing consultancy in the United States. They've worked with brands like Red Bull, Verizon, and Eddie Bauer. He actually sold two e-com companies by the time he turned 26. He's Forbes 30 under 30. He's Inc. Magazine's top 25 marketing influencers. And Eric, I'm honored to have you here today to learn a little bit more about ecom. Thank you for spending some time with me and the audience today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's have some fun. Let's talk ecom. So I launched and failed at multiple e-com sites. Some are still working, some are operational, but I've learned how much of a nightmare it can be, especially when you're like trying to do your own marketing. So Eric, in your words, what do you think what are the top reasons people fail when they're trying to start an e-commerce company?
Well, I think you sadly kind of highlighted part of it, which is like you got to fully commit to building a business. Like you can't start multiple companies. This whole side hustle culture. Don't get me wrong; it's okay to start something on the side and kind of feel it out, but like at some point you got to commit. And like the idea of building multiple businesses at once, you're if you're not working on your best idea, you're doing it wrong. And so like if you're spreading your time between three different things, you're by nature doing it wrong because one of those things would be a better use of your time, but you're taking away from it to focus on two others as well. So I think it's a fallacy. All these side businesses, these side hustles, these drop shippers, all this crap. It's the problem is you're building a business. It's competitive, and there's someone else out there that's fully dedicated, that's spending day and night working on this to beat you, and you're making it easy on them by not committing. And so that's one is that I think people take it as easier than it is, but it's just like any other business. And building a product company, an e-commerce brand is hard. There's a lot of capital expenditures. You need inventory, getting it out there. If you build a website, nobody knows it exists. Now you got to market it. Like there's a lot that goes into these things, and it's really, really difficult to get out there. So, that's the beginning is like you got to know that you've got a great product. There is no easy shortcut to wealth, and you got to stick with it. And also, the idea of being direct to consumer, I think is a great channel. But if you're a product company, be a product company. If you're a distribution company, be a distribution company. But if you're a product company, use any means necessary to get that product to your customer. So that could be brick and mortar and wholesale. That's direct to consumer. That's Amazon. That's everything. Like your job is to get it out there as wide as possible,
Right.
not just direct to consumer. And I see a lot of e-commerce companies make that mistake too. And so
I also
they
see
confuse the business model and the distribution channel.
a lot of gurus out there, especially like the people who have courses and they're making a lot of content trying to sell young entrepreneurs on here's this drop shipping course, here's this Amazon course, consume this
Yep.
content, we'll find the product for you, don't worry, here's how you do it all, guaranteed to be
Yep.
successful. Does that ever work? Is that ever a route people should take?
I'd say vast majority no, but of course it works sometimes because sometimes that is the kick in the butt that someone needed to get out there and build their company. That a little bit of motivation, a little bit of knowledge. So I won't say it
Right.
never works, but I'm not a fan of the quote gurus. And my favorite, like I learned this early. When I was 17, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Great book, by the way. Still think it's a great book. But my dad was a pretty successful guy, and I started telling him all about the book, and he goes, "You know how that guy makes money?" I'm like, "How?" He goes, "Selling fucking books." Like,
Yeah.
remember that when you're buying a course. That person is not, if they were that successful at e commerce or at selling direct to consumer products, they wouldn't need to charge for their course. I don't know. All of my friends that have built multi-$100 million, multi-billion-dollar companies wouldn't charge $9.99 for a fucking course on how they did it. They just give a talk and do it. They don't need the money.
Right.
That's not where they're going to make it. And they'd probably feel guilty charging for their knowledge. So, like, that's not how this works. That's why I haven't ever wanted to charge for a course on the marketing side. It's like, no. We have our business that will do it for you. But if you're just asking a few tips, I'll just give them to you. That's not my business. You have to be careful because those gurus, their business is selling courses.
I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. Tim Ferriss was one of the reasons I got into e-commerce in the first place, the 4 Hour Work
Yep.
Week. Tim
Yep.
Ferriss started a supplement company. I think it was a nootropic supplement. And
Yep.
that was the reason he was able to have his 4 Hour Work Week, because the supplement
Yep.
company was making him some $80,000 a month while he slept. And that's kind of the dream that he sold to a lot of entrepreneurs. Does
Yep.
that work? I mean, is that something that's feasible anymore? Maybe it was in the past.
I think aiming for it is a problem. I think, like, in a weird way, like, if you think you're going to start a company by working 4 hours a week, you're not going to start a company. Like, that's ridiculous. If you're going to build a company towards the idea of only having to work 4 hours a week, I think that's doable. I think that just it's a level of ambition. Like, as you said, he was doing $80,000 a month. So if you are okay with building a sub $1 million business and then you're done, you're like, it runs, it's good, it makes $1 million a year, and I don't need to work any harder, like, then yeah, I think that is doable. But the question becomes, but if you built a company that easily to $1 million, why would you go do other things? And with the let's say you work 50 hours a week, why wouldn't you spend that 46 extra hours into that supplement company to scale it and build it and turn it into $100 million business if it's that easy to get to $1 million, versus, oh, now I can go do these 17 other businesses, none of which will be as easy to run or as successful as
Right.
this. Like, that's the fallacy that I think we're on into. Or you're truly a lifestyle entrepreneur that you want to go ride your mountain bike and travel the world and, check in on your business for an hour a day. I think that is doable. And I know quite a few people that have built a business like that. If that's your goal, I think that's actually achievable.
Okay, great. So we've established that it's not a great side hustle. If you're running an agency, you have a full-time job, and you just want to throw 10,000 into an e-com product or a drop shipping website, it's probably not going to be successful if you don't dedicate
Right.
yourself to it. I'm on board with
Yeah.
you there. Now, say you make the decision to go all in e-commerce, and there's a few different models that you can choose from. I've tried a couple of them. The direct to consumer, you start a website, you buy a bunch of inventory from Alibaba, you try and market it with paid ads and influencer marketing. There's the Amazon model, right? You try and rank on Amazon, give a bunch away, pay a bunch of money to paid ads. Hopefully, you get a bunch of good reviews and utilize their SEO. And then the
Yeah.
drop shipping model. And maybe I'm missing some, but I'd love for you to walk me through your opinions on the different e-com models, which you think is best, and which you would advise the listeners to think about.
Yeah. I would say that's kind of the issue is e-commerce is a distribution channel, not a business model. And so the idea of I'm going to create an e-commerce, now let's go find a product, I think is 99% of the time a bad strategy, versus the world needs this product. We can use e-commerce to get it out there and all these other things. That's where I think a lot of people fail. It's, e-commerce is one way to get a product to a customer. There's not a lot of other ways. And if e-commerce is a great distribution for the type of product you're creating, great. But I think you need to figure out and this is where people got confused, I think, the past decade, because they looked at e-commerce as a new business model, which it in some sense it is, but it's like, oh, we can take this type of product onto the web, this type of product on the web. And I think the only reason that worked was because so many of the legacy businesses didn't adapt the web. Because if Gillette had done a better job with e-com and changing their model, Dollar Shave Club wouldn't exist. And frankly, Dollar Shave Club never ended up being a good business. It was a good exit for the founder, but that kind of thing won't happen very likely anymore. Where the last year in business before selling to Unilever, they did 300 million in revenue and lost 200 million in profit. So 300 million in revenue and 500 million in expenses. That's fucking crazy. But that's not a business model again. And so and that worked when people were treating e-commerce like tech companies, and it's not. It's product. And so I think nowadays, you see it with a lot of the top players like Parachute Home. You see it with Honest Company. They become product companies. They're in Target. They're in all these other stores, and they have their e-commerce channel, and they're on Amazon. Dr. Squatch would be another good example where that's the model. Create a great product. Parachute, they are great betting. Honest Company, they seem to be great products. I haven't used many of them. Dr. Squatch really has done a great job, and they use e-commerce to save some margin for the customers that want to buy direct from them, but they're everywhere. And I think that is what works these days. So to me, if you want to start something, it's what product do you think is missing or has a hole in the market? What niche can you attack from a product standpoint? If you're going on Alibaba to identify a product, then you're probably already losing, because every one of us can do that. You're not special in that way.
I think that's a good starting point. Like, what are you going to sell? And I feel like most people are like, all right, what can I rank for? What is going to get a bunch of clicks and sales? What are some good margins?
Yeah.
How do you approach product? Because the ecom entrepreneurs that I know personally that have actually been successful are ones that have designed their own products, gone to the factories in China. Is that what's
Yeah.
necessary nowadays, do you think, to be successful? Talk to me through that.
I mean, listen, there's that is one way that I would agree with. It doesn't, necessarily have to go to China. There's manufacturing in the U.S. There's manufacturing in Mexico, but I do think it is actually, starting small. And that's the other thing is I think people try to think e-commerce should be like a tech company from a scalability perspective, and like,
Mhm.
you can do 20 million bucks in your first year. Really hard to do. Like, have a long-term plan, and I think that's the get rich quick scheme. Like, look at one of the richest people in the, I mean, if you take out the tech, like true tech entrepreneurs that ended up on a rocket ship because of the tech sort of revolution, so Bezos, Musk, Gates, etc., then you've
Branson,
got
yeah.
like you've got Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, you've got the Waltons, you've got Bernard Arnault. These are people that took 50 years, and Walmart even longer, to build their wealth. So like when you talk about like it's not about get rich quick. I think I just read it and don't actually. I would love to double check this, but I'm pretty sure at 30 years old, Warren Buffett was worth $1 million. At 30, by 60, he was worth $1 billion. So it's like that's 30 years then. So the idea of like I'm gonna launch my e-commerce company today and tomorrow it's gonna be worth $100 million, like that's not how this works. So the reason I say this is if you're strategizing and your goal is more of like a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan, a 30-year plan, now you can make the proper decisions that allow you to build that thing. For us, like Hawk Media turned a decade old this weekend, like, and if it and we've grown, we've built, it's turned into something great. But like if I started with like I'm just going to hit there tomorrow, we would have made a lot of dumb decisions versus like this is a build. We're going to slowly progress. We're going to grow incrementally and get to a point where we have a solid foundation. I think it's the same thing with ecom. If your expectation is that you're going to blow it out of the water day one, it's going to be really hard to do. That doesn't mean be complacent. Like you should be urgent with everything. But the reason I say that is because, yeah, it's going to take time to identify a great product, figure out a good manufacturing partner, go through a bunch of iterations to make sure you nail the product so people are going to love it, be obsessed with your product, and then go use all the channels to get it out there.
Fair. And I'd love to hear your blueprint because, yes, at the same time, you should have an extended success horizon. If people are trying to get
Yeah.
rich quick, it's doomed for failure. But you're a
Yeah.
relatively young guy. You've built and sold 2 e-commerce companies. So clearly there's an
Yeah.
outline, there's a blueprint to
Yeah.
success. I'd love to hear a little bit, Eric, about what you did with those 2 e-commerce companies, which channels you sold on, how you went about product development and choice, and then
Yeah.
actually marketing and scaling those e-com brands. What did you do?
Yeah. So the first one, Swag of the Month, I just realized that guys hated shopping and the internet was still pretty new from an e-commerce perspective. So I went, well, what if we just sent someone a shirt every month we picked out for them based on their sort of style? This is also in the heyday of t-shirts, I'd say, where it was like everybody liked expressing themselves on their t-shirt and everybody was wearing t-shirts. And so now it's like all blanks. Back then it was like different designs depending on who you are and what you wanted to represent. And so we just partnered with, it was about 120 t-shirt brands, looked at what our people liked, made sure to put together the inventory. And again, so we didn't create our own products. We partnered and that's what I was saying is you're either a distribution channel or a product company. We were a
Hmm.
distribution channel. We knew that. So we figured out, well, how can we be a unique distribution channel that people want to buy from us versus just going to Target or going to Nordstrom's. And we figured, well, they don't want to shop. So we'll just make an algorithm, do it for them. And that's how we built that company. And it was one of the first subscription e-commerce companies. So that got us a lot of attention.
Hmm.
As far as go to market, back then, you could get press a lot easier, and press was a lot more noticed. So like these days, we all are under different algorithms on Instagram and TikTok, etc. So like if you get a TechCrunch article these days, almost no one sees it. Like the
Right.
reach of these media companies is so less. Back then, we got a TechCrunch article the day we launched, and 600 people paid subscriptions came that day into a brand new company from just a TechCrunch article. So it doesn't happen
Wow.
anymore, but that was a strategy back then. And so that's part of it is like you got to figure out how do you get the word out now in a way that's efficient and measurable and scalable. Because that's also like, great, you got a TechCrunch article on 600 customers. What do you do day two? And so that's the kind of stuff we had to start looking at. And we, back then Google ads were there. There were no there were no Facebook ads yet. So we just started looking at different ways. We looked at affiliate. An affiliate was very different back then. There wasn't like Retail Me Not and stuff. It was like these big email lists. You just blast the hell out of a million people and hope someone clicked. Your site would flood with shit traffic, crash the site. No one would buy anything. It was a mess. But you try a bunch of stuff until it worked, and then you would stay in touch with people. And I think that was the thing that we were early on the email side. That now you've got companies like Klaviyo that the idea is like, we wrote a book on this that was bestseller called The Hawk Method. And it's just the 3 pillars of marketing: awareness, nurturing, and trust. So number one, awareness. How do you get your name out there to a new potential customer? So it's all the things we do: advertising, word of mouth, PR, all these things to reach new potential customers and let them know you exist. Then you have to nurture those customers to get them to actually convert into customers. And the biggest thing people miss is the idea of what's called a consideration period or a purchase cycle. And what that is from the time they become aware of you to the time they buy takes time. Speaking to e-commerce, for a $50 average order, it's about 3 weeks. For $100, it's about 5 weeks. For $200, it's about 6 weeks. And then it tails off between 2 and 3 months. So it's 3 weeks to 3 months on average for someone to purchase. And a lot of people are driving ads today, measuring the performance today, especially these drop shippers, and going, oh, it didn't work, moving on. It's like, that's why these businesses fall apart. And so when you're building more longevity during that consideration period, you want to have their email address, you want to have their phone number, you want to be following up in text and email, creating value, creating content, trying to stay in touch with them to get them more likely to purchase. And then once they buy from you, you've hopefully build a catalog so that they can keep buying, because you're acquiring a customer. If all you're doing is selling them one thing, you're losing again. So you need to find other things to sell to them to be able to monetize that customer acquisition. And that's where email, again, SMS, these things. And the last one, so you have awareness, nurturing, and then trust. Trust, synonymous with brand. So before you're able to build a brand people recognize, it's all third-party validation. So testimonials, reviews, PR, endorsements, influencers, all those things that help people feel comfortable. Because like, I don't know who you are, but all these people say you're great, so I feel comfortable purchasing. And that sort of, I'd say, is not just a go-to-market strategy, but an overall just marketing in 101.
Yeah, that's all great advice. Have a good product, nurture the warm leads. I think it takes an average of 7 times somebody to see and interact with your brand online before they make a purchasing decision. I think that was a study by HubSpot. Crazy. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about awareness. I think that's where most people struggle, is that top of funnel. And I think this is where most e-com entrepreneurs burn out or don't have the skills necessary to be able to convert top of funnel traffic at a good and affordable enough rate. So Eric, what do you recommend to people to invest their time and money into generating that top of funnel awareness? Is it paid ads? Is it influencer marketing? What works now?
Yeah, great question. I agree. Awareness is what most people think of as marketing. I will say a lot of people skip over all the nurturing because they're like, oh, we don't have any traffic yet, so we're not going to do that. Like from day one, you need to have that all set up. But once you have that set up, that's where you're going to monetize everything. Then I would say paid ads, don't start that till you can spend 5 to 10 grand a month on it consistently, and not month, because again, it's going to take a little while for you to see the returns on that. So you have to wait till you're at that point. And so before that, I'm of the opinion that if you don't have money, you have time. And so if you have time, what are the things you can do with time? Well, partnerships is one. How do you identify people that have your same target customer that you can offer something to, or frankly, just make them like you, that they're going to be like, you know what, I'm going to help you out. You have a new water company. I run a running shoe brand. I have a huge audience that would love your water. So I'm going to do a blast with you, whether it's a commission or just make sure that like 2 years from now, you promote my shoes, or we have something, or you've got a great brand, something to get like another brand that has an audience to help you out in a way that you can, work through a deal to benefit them. That's one way. Number two, same thing goes for influencers and celebrities. Can you go find someone that has a reach, or media that like will do this on a percentage of revenue, or that will just do it because they want to help you out, or you want to do an equity partnership? Like there's all those things. You got to be scrappy in the beginning until you have that. And then there's really just, again, get off the internet and go sell your product. Go, depending on what it is. Again, if it's water, go roll it out to your local grocery store and do some samples. Whatever it is, get it out there. I watched the birth of Liquid Death. That was one of the big investments I missed. And those guys just gave everybody water all over, everywhere. Every party, everything we went to, they just had backpacks full of water to give out. And everyone's like, what is this? Because again, if the product is good, it will speak for itself and it will create virality. If it's not, you're screwed anyways, so stop wasting your time. So you've got to be able to get out there. And the second e-commerce company I sold was an activewear brand. We gave 1,000 influencers a top and bottom from it, just because I was like, listen, if on we have a over 50% margin. I think at the time we had a 70% margin. And so I was like, if an influencer can't send me one customer, I'm fucked. It's not the problem with the marketing. It's like, if I can send this to 1,000 influencers, and this was also 11 years ago, when influencers it was a newer thing and they were more effective, frankly. And I was like, if I can't send this to 1,000 bloggers, have 1,000 blog posts, and it's not going to sell 1,000 units, I'm screwed. And it ended up selling, I don't know, way more than that. Like, it ended up selling like 10,000 units, that campaign. So it was like, blew it out of the park in that sense. And so once I knew that, then I kept going with it because it was scalable. And don't get me wrong, we started with a few. It wasn't 1,000 day one. But that's an example of like, that cost me nothing other than the cost of the product.
Yeah, totally agree with you, especially on the paid ads. I think if you're not talented with them and you have the money to spend learning and training your pixels, it's people throw in the towel real quick and end up just burning all of that money, all of that time. And it's funny, you mentioned earlier the company who did, I think, 300,000 profit, but 500,000 expenses in that month. And you see all the time these e-com entrepreneurs showing their Stripe accounts with all their transactions coming in, all that revenue they're generating, but you never see the back end, how much money they spent to generate those sales.
Yeah.
So
or they show a one window of like, look, I made 500 grand today and I only spent $1, and it's like, that's because you spent $1 million yesterday. Like, stop it. But and again, anyone that's posting that shit, just run immediately. I'll say that with confidence too.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Be very skeptical about what you see online, especially the entrepreneurs flashing their money around. They're trying to sell you a course or something. All right, Eric.
Last week that was having a nice car, nice watch, or nice clothes is a sign of priorities, not wealth.
Yeah, well said. Being on top of market trends, I think, is really useful in e-commerce. It can really set you ahead. For example, TikTok Shop, I think, just hit a massive landmark today, certain billion number of dollars in sales.
Yep.
Where do you see e-com trending right now? Are people moving away from Amazon toward Etsy? Is TikTok crushing? For entrepreneurs now who are trying to figure out where to start, what channels to focus on, what's hot? What do you predict in the future?
Yeah, I think few things. One is, thankfully, we built out our own proprietary system called Hawk AI that's digesting about 8,000 companies' marketing data in real time, so we can see what's happening and how things are moving and how the efficacy of different channels are moving, where budgets are going, etc. I will say the two best places to market right now, advertising online, are still Google and Meta, and have been for over a decade. So the idea of chasing the shiny object and rushing to jump into the new hot thing is a complete fallacy. There is no first mover advantage. You get a little bit of press if you're the first person to buy on one of these channels, but like once in a while you can unlock something early on that they haven't like patched that one thing, trick on it. But like the amount of time you can invest into trying to find that and never go, it's like buying lottery tickets to get wealthy. Like, focus on the repeatable, scalable part of marketing and you're going to be long-term successful. And I've seen that over and over and over again, because again, even if you find some vein on Snapchat that works for a week and makes you a bunch of money, week 2, it's much more painful to jump a company to, let's say, 10 million in revenue year 1 and then come down to 5 million in year 2 than it is to go 2 and 5. I'd rather have a company that goes 2 to 5 than 10 to 5, much more. And it's hard to understand until you've been through it. But a shrinking company is a disaster. You lose a ton of money. You had to build all the infrastructure for a $10 million business, and now you got to rewind to 5. You're screwed. Ramping up slowly is a much better strategy. And again, slow is subjective. I still think, go for it, but you don't want to have a sugar rush. You don't want to ramp up and then have to come back down. And so building your marketing that way is super important.
So do you don't think people are going to shop differently online over the next 5-10 years? People should stick to Google shopping ads, Meta ads?
I think 10% of your marketing spend should be on the stuff that's innovative. Again, assuming you have a certain scale. So TikTok Shop, we are seeing the same thing. We're seeing it start to take off, but it's been around for a while. And so it's starting to take off. That doesn't mean turn off Facebook, turn off Google, go all in on TikTok Shop. That means like start to dabble in it, start to see if you can find a vein, like work on it. And then when you start to see it work, go for it. But like a lot of people do these binary things where you're like all in on this. It's like, why would you go all in on anything? Like that's just not a smart strategy.
You mentioned shiny
Yeah.
object syndrome. We're pretty much all guilty of this. We see somebody doing something that's working, and all of a sudden we need to be doing that thing, and it distracts us from what's maybe already working for us, and that's probably not a great thing. And in e-commerce, I can see this getting very dangerous because people shop on different channels, so you want to be everywhere. So let me ask you, Eric, should you try and be everywhere? You know, Walmart, Amazon, Etsy, eBay. Where should you focus on selling? And if you should be everywhere all at once or one at a time, what do you teach? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I'd say it depends what you can handle bandwidth wise and how big the company is. Early on, I would probably start small and try to find like you don't have enough time or focus or staff or anything to manage it all appropriately. So you end up spreading yourself too thin. And you have to be careful of that. So I would start with one place, master it. Once that's humming, make sure someone's watching it while you expand into other places. That would be my strategy, is like going all out at once. The only thing I would say is Amazon's 55% of e-commerce sales. I think Shopify right now is about 20%. So like
Hmm.
I do like building direct to consumer, but cutting off Amazon is a huge problem too. So maybe start with those two. But again, eBay and Walmart and these other channels are a small piece of the internet. So like I'd say those expand as you're ready to expand channels.
Okay, great advice. So start with Amazon and Shopify, and you're there. There, you're already capitalizing 70 to 80% of the e-commerce market. Awesome
Exactly.
advice. Talk to me a little bit about Hawk AI. You mentioned data. What does Hawk AI do? Is this something that e-com entrepreneurs should know about, should
Oh
leverage?
yeah. Yeah, no, we've got about 8,000 companies running their marketing, media, and revenue data through it in real time. So it allows you to
Hmm.
benchmark, allows to create insights to go, this is exactly where you're failing. Like I dealt with this yesterday with a client that was like, we're really having trouble budgeting this. We think we have to cut off Facebook ads because it's just not performing at the level we need it to. And I looked at their Facebook ads. They were getting 4x their ad spend on first purchase. And I'm like,
Wow.
this is absurd. Like, you just don't know what the benchmarks are. Like, this is really, really, really good. But let me explain to you what that means. Here's the average ROI across 8,000 brands, and here's you. Like, you are crushing it. If this doesn't work, and I told them this, if this doesn't work, it's a problem with your business model, not with Facebook. So let's talk about your business model, because if this isn't working, something's really wrong. And so this allows you that insight that normally only bigger agencies have, where it's like, how am I comparing to the market? What metrics should I know? How should I be adjusting? And it's flagging things in real time on what's performing, what's not, where you have opportunities. And we made it super cost effective. So it starts at $250 a month. So, again, at least at a small scale, you should be able to leverage this to do a lot better on the marketing side.
Right. I've noticed, especially when I was running the e-com brands, it was really hard to look at the data as they
Yeah.
present it and get a
Yep.
full picture to know what's
Exactly.
going on. And for e-com, it's everything, right? It's math. It's a math equation for every ad
Yep.
that you're running. So how does it work? You log into Hawk AI, you sync your Facebook Meta
Yep.
account, sync your Google account, and it will give you that picture,
Yeah,
that full
exactly.
picture.
And we have a one-time free audit that'll just literally print out like, here's how everything looks right now. But then from there, it's ongoing monitoring, and you actually set up flags and alerts and everything to be like, to let me know if my Facebook drops below 20% below market or whatever you want to flag. We want to know our click-through rates are performing. We want to have budget alerts to make sure we don't overspend, like all that ad management, and also plugs into Klaviyo and Shopify and all the back end side too, to make sure that all your metrics and your marketing strategy looks better than everybody else. And that's the goal, is to win. Like, it is a competitive landscape in capitalism.
Amazing. And you mentioned a free report. I'd love for you to tell us where to access that free audit with Hawk AI.
Yep.
And then maybe also
Just
let us know where to find you if people want to. And I stalked you on Instagram. Eric, give some gold on there for anyone who wants to go learn more and dive deeper on ecom. But Eric, where can people get that free analysis?
Yeah, so it's just hawk.ai, HAWKE.ai. Or if you want a deeper dive, we run free marketing audits for anyone with the qualitative side too. Like, our experts will do it too. And that's just hawkmedia.com.
Cool. I'll drop that in the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube, listening on podcast, just click down in the description. I'll put that down there, as well as Eric's social if you want to go catch up. Eric, I really appreciate you spending some time with me talking ecom. If there are any ecom entrepreneurs or people thinking about it who are listening, I hope you got some value out of this. But Eric, you were awesome. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All righty, 6:31. Not too bad.
Yep.
You got to run?
No. Yep. Got to jump. But thank you, man. And
Yeah, my
yeah.
pleasure.